Today we're going to talk about these that we have right here, and these are the Moondrop Ultra Sonic. I've been asked a lot about Moondrop, so let me tell you what I think about these, because I think they're interesting, but I also think they're not for everybody. First, let's talk about the specs. 6 hours of battery life of continuous playing, which is pretty low in my opinion. A lot of earbuds offer way more, and that's only the maximum you can get. If you use something like maybe LDAC, because yes, they do have LDAC, or even use ANC or use gaming mode, well, the battery life is going to be between maybe 4 and 3 hours and a half, which is pretty low in my opinion. So battery life is not the strength, neither the reason I would buy these for. Inside the box, you get actually 3 things, which is pretty interesting. You get a rigid case, and you also get a soft case. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, because once you take the rigid case and put it inside the soft case, it's almost impossible to take it out. At least I couldn't do it. So you're just going to have to take my word for it. Once you put it in, it's going to become one case, and it's actually the purpose. So you're not going to take them out. It's just a dual setup case where they come separate in the box. But at the end of the day, it's a simple case with a button. It's color red, and it has the earbuds inside. The earbuds themselves feel good quality. They have a matte finish, they're color gray. They have right and left actually written on them with no issues. I like that a lot. And the aesthetics look pretty pleasing as well. But what other specs do they actually have? Well, total battery life with the charging case is actually 18 hours, which is also pretty low. And they also have the Bluetooth codecs I told you previously about. They have LDAC, and they also have LC3, which is LE audio. LDAC is one of my favorites, gives you the most clear and best audio if you're using something like maybe Tidal or any type of lossless audio. LE audio is a little bit more complex. It's meant to give you very good quality, but also give you better performance. LDAC uses a lot of battery, but LE audio uses way less power, but doesn't really reach the maximum performance than LDAC does. But according to my test and everything I've been able to try out, well, LE audio is pretty similar to LDAC, it's just better performance. But the disadvantage right now with LE audio is that not everything has it. So I think it's going to be the future, but not quite yet. I think that's why it has 2 codecs, because not every single cell phone has LE audio. If you have a compatible cell phone, I would go with LE audio. You're simply going to get a better performance and probably not even going to notice a difference. Another thing to take into account is that they don't either have wireless charging. So you're going to have to use that USB-C type cable that comes included in the box. But the good news is you can actually charge them completely in about an hour. So it's not that bad. Now, comfort-wise and audio quality. Well, comfort-wise, I can tell you, they're not bad. At the beginning, I was a little bit skeptic because the case is a little bit weird. You have to slide towards the side to take them out of the case. But the good thing they did was actually make these a matte finish. If these would have a glossy finish, it would be a pain to take them out of the case. But it's not the issue. And it actually works quite better than I expected. The comfort is also pretty good. The silicone tips are not the best, but they're not the worst. I think they're just acceptable for what you're paying and comfortable enough for a couple of hours. You're not going to get that many hours out of them anyways, so I don't think it's an issue. And comfort-wise, I think they're pretty good. Now, the most important part of these is actually the application. The app is not the most sophisticated, but it's pretty important to get the best advantage out of these. What do I mean? Well, once you get them out of the box the first time, first of all, update the firmware. That's essential. The audio did change, in my opinion, once I updated the firmware. Second of all, the volume was extremely low for some reason, but they have this function in there that says high gain, and high gain is essential to use them, because if you don't use that, I think they're barely usable. The volume is way too low. The other thing is you can actually control a couple of presets, and it also has a couple of EQ presets, which are pretty good and not as well. Well, what do I mean? You can't manually preset the EQs. You have to use only the ones that are there in the application. But the good news is you get a lot of variations. If you don't want the typical commercial sound with a lot of bass, a lot of vocals, and decent mids, well, you can also go a little bit more audiophile grade, which is interesting. Maybe for monitoring audio, you can also use a couple of functions that are in there. You can also make them a little bit more flat. You can play around with the ones that are there, and I think there's quite a good amount of them that'll make these interesting enough for a lot of people. So, not bad. The audio quality itself, I think, is pretty good. Mostly you get very clear highs, you get very clear mids, and also boomy enough bass. It's not the strongest, but I also think it's not bad. So audio quality, I would say pretty good as well. Now, the price. What would you pay for these? Take into account you get LE audio, you get LDAC, you get not the best battery life, you get pretty good microphones that actually, here's a small test. This is what you can actually expect from the microphones. I think it's quite decent. A lot better than the ANC, and for what you're paying, I think you're getting good value. But drop a comment below. What do you think of what these mics actually sound like? Well, you have to pay for these about $70 to $75. I think it's a good value. The audio quality is pretty good. The microphones are pretty good as well. ANC is not the best, but it's not bad either. And I think that's what describes these earbuds. They're not bad, but they're not the most premium, and they're not the worst either. So they're right there in the middle. I also think the price is in the middle. So that's why I think it's actually a fair trade. So you guys tell me, would you buy these Moondrop Ultra Sonic? Drop a comment below. And if you wouldn't, well, maybe check out this pair over here that might be a little bit more interesting for you. And don't forget to subscribe and drop us a like. That also helps us out quite a bit.